last night, John went looking for my sunglasses and he found them. So I am super happy. I have my heart sunglasses back. But I just wanted to kind of post or record this. This won't go up for a while either. But so like 2 or 3 nights ago, it was over the weekend, our youngest daughter, so as you know by now, we're gonna adopt them, and we've told them, so they're still processing the whole adoption situation, and there's still apparently some confusion about that, about like how that's working for them. Even though I've explained it like 4 times, they still don't get it somewhat. So like my youngest, she had a fit yesterday, and she was like, she said something about, well, what if you can't adopt us? And I was like, no, honey, it's done. Like, we're waiting on a date. That's all we're waiting on. We're gonna adopt you. So she was still thinking like that she was gonna somehow maybe possibly go back to her mom. And for her, she doesn't really have a lot of memories of her mom, so it's a lot of like magical thinking. It's a lot of like, oh, being with mom was great because, you know, I had a tablet, or I had this, or, you know, the visits that we had with mom were fine, so it must not have been that bad. So she doesn't really remember a whole lot about being with her mom. Yeah. So anyway, she's been being like really ornery lately, which is understandable. She's processing a lot. But I can't remember what happened. Oh, she was just like trying to irritate her sister, which is normal for siblings to do, but they do it a little bit more so than normal, I would say. And especially my youngest, she thinks it's really funny to irritate her sister, and so she'll do little things. And here's the thing that's weird about it. Like, if you don't know them, or you don't spend a lot of time with them, you wouldn't think it was abnormal. It's just the level that it happens, and then like learning their facial expressions, so you can kind of tell like what they're thinking. And yeah, so she's doing something with malice intent, which really irritates me. So anyways, she was sitting on her bed, and I went in to talk to her. This was before the discussion I was just telling you about. So we'd already told them that they were getting adopted, and like, you've seen that video already if you've watched this. If you haven't, check it out. It's a couple videos back. And she said something to me about I'm not her real mom. And they had been talking about, like, anytime Jonathea talks about her real mom, she means like her biological mom. Mariana, in this moment, our youngest, she was like intentionally trying to upset me. She was trying to make me mad. And I mean, this time it worked. Usually I can just like let stuff go. And also, like, I've been preparing myself for hearing that whole like, well, you're not my real mom discussion. But I was thinking it was going to happen like when she was a teenager for some reason. I mean, it will happen when she's a teenager for sure. But yeah, so she said that, and part of it is like her testing me to figure out like what's going to push my buttons, because like I said, right now she's taking pleasure in irritating other people. This is something you kind of have to just deal with in foster care, so I'm trying to figure out a way to make sure that that doesn't happen. Part of it is like she doesn't have empathy as much, it's not developed as much yet. So when these things happen with her sister, I turn it around on her. I'm like, well, how do you feel? This happened to you, how do you like it? And sometimes that works. But when she said that to me, it was really hard. Like, I was so when she's a teenager, it's going to be easier for me to tell her, sorry guys, hold on a second. I have to see if there's going to be issues. Nope. Okay. When she's a teenager, it's going to be easier for me to explain the story. Like, right now, we can't explain to them what's going on with their mom because they're not old enough to understand it. They're not old enough to process it, and it wouldn't be healthy for them. So when she's a teenager, I'm going to be able to explain that, you know? Like, I'm going to be able to say what's going on a little bit, or how things are going. And right now, like, we're like trying to kind of protect them from having to deal with that reality. But I don't know how long that's gonna last. Like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to keep that up because of what they're doing and how they're acting. So anyway, yeah, so in those moments, like, and I like posted something on Facebook stupidly because I shouldn't have done this, because nobody else, like, other people don't get it. They think they get it. And it's like, oh, every parent's, or, you know, every kid says, you know, this, that, or the other. It's like, no, every kid doesn't punch holes in your wall as a 6-year-old, and then you are feeding and clothing them while they're kicking and hitting you, and there's nothing you can do about it, by the way. And you've done this for over a year now, and they're like, oh, you're not my real mom. And then you can't tell them, oh, yeah, I am. What does a real mom do? you can't just turn around and say that because she's 7, you know? Like, she's not gonna, all that's gonna do is hurt her more. So, yeah, like, I get every kid says, you know, I wish you weren't my mom, or I hate you, or blah, blah, blah. And this moment, it wasn't like me disciplining her. It was just her trying to say something out of the blue. It wasn't like this heated discussion. It was just her, because we were like playing around and talking, and then all of a sudden she decides she wants to do this. So yeah, I mean, part of it is her just seeing, like, if she's actually gonna go anywhere, like, what she got to say to get out of here. But yeah, so then yesterday morning she had a really big fit, and that was when the whole, like, well, what if you can't adopt us? And I was like, it's not an option. Like, I told her, I was like, it's happening. There's nothing that's going to change it. And so it was just kind of like, well, I didn't get to say bye to mommy because they haven't had a visit in a long time. They haven't had a visit since this happened. So they haven't gotten to have closure, and both of them are struggling with that, which is something that I struggle with too. I need closure in my life, and so they haven't gotten to do that. And so I'm trying to find a way to facilitate that without involving their mother, because she's not available right now. So I don't know. I've talked about, like, maybe writing her a letter. So we'll probably do that this weekend. I'll probably sit them down and have them, like, write a letter, draw her a picture or something, and then I have her email address, so I'm going to just email those things to her, and hopefully that will fulfill some of their need for closure. I don't know for sure if that's going to work, but yeah. And of course they think that, like, I control everything, so somehow they think that I can just, like, make this happen. But other things that have come up too is, like, well, it's our fault that we're here, and so we've had to explain, like, no, it's not your fault. There's only, like, your mom is the only person who could have changed this. That's how it is. Like, there's no other entity that could have acted to make you go back to your mother. Which I know I've talked about this before, like, you have to try and not say bad things about the biological parents to your foster kids. So it's really difficult because, like, we're trying not to say anything really negative about their mom, but at the same time, like, you have to be honest about whose responsibility it is, or was, for them to be able to go home. So that's some of why I'm getting the whole, like, you're not my real mom thing. It's just because, like, they're just, especially with her, it's just like, well, you know, I don't know. There's a lot going on. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. Like, if you commented on that post, like, thank you. I understand, like, just like when we first got her, and there were days when I did not want her to be in my house anymore because she was doing things like punching holes in my wall and throwing all of my DVDs across the living room and doing a lot of crazy things. Yes, there are days I did not want her to be in my house anymore. But there are days when people with biological children don't want their children in their house at that moment. And if you're not honest about that, then yeah, there are days when you don't want your kids. I promise you. I know it. It's just like the same thing. Like, biological or adoptive kids are gonna say stuff like that, just like biological kids do. And our older one, like, says stuff like that all the time, but she does it, like, when you would expect it, I guess, if that makes sense. Like, you expect her to say stuff like that. And it's like, she's just hoping to get some extra attention out of it, and I just kind of blow her off. And that's what I did with Mariana. I, like, when she said that, I was like, oh, okay. And I just stood up and walked out of the room. And she was sitting there on her bed, and she's like, no, come back. And then she said, I want my mommy, I want my mommy. And I just sat on the couch talking to her sister, and I was explaining to her sister, like, the appropriate terminology to use, which would be like, if you want to talk about your biological mom, then you can say biological mom. If you want to talk about me like adoptive mom, you can say adoptive mom, but we are both your real mom. And that's a hard concept for her to understand. And if you don't agree with me that I am her real mom just because I'm adopted, like just because we're adopting her, then you can bite me. And I don't care. Because what makes a mother is the person who is taking care of the child. That's what makes a mother, not your DNA. And even though my girls are 7 and 8, and yeah, they're always going to love their mother, and I hope that they always love their mother, and I hope that when they're old enough to have a relationship with her, that she is in a position where they can have a good relationship with her, I am their real mom. I am. By choice. Like, in some instances, more so their real mother, because I knew what I was getting into. It wasn't like I just had a baby and good luck. Like, I knew exactly what I was getting, and I chose it anyway. So, yeah. Hopefully that doesn't offend anybody. If it does, become a foster parent, try it out, let me know. Then you can complain. Until then, don't complain to me. Don't care. Alright guys, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please feel free to subscribe. There's going to be more coming about our adoption journey, so yeah. Bye guys.